This is episode 124, where you'll be meeting the wonderful Marnie Downer, a naturopath, herbalist and nutritionist who is on the cusp of launching Great Dames. Embrace the change, one hot flush at a time. She's supporting women to embrace menopause in a healthy way, physically, mentally and spiritually. Building a business and life that blends contribution, fulfillment and financial reward? Welcome to Your Next Chapter, the show for women in their 40s and beyond who are on this adventure. I'm Angela Rasmus and I'm delighted you're here. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Your Next Chapter podcast. We are in the midst of the Under the Radar series at the moment, talking to, inverted commas, ordinary women who are doing extraordinary things. Now, this is in celebration of my book, Your Next Chapter. Ditch your doubt, own your worth, and build the business you really want. And really, the conversations that I've been having with these marvelous women is to find out where they are at in that next chapter cycle of change, and to hopefully provide you with a little bit of impetus and inspiration to move into your own next chapter. And Marnie Downer, who I'm speaking with today, is right on the cusp. We had a chat before we hit record, and she's absolutely in the middle of the design phase of the cycle of change with brilliant things that are coming up. So Marnie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Angela. I'm really looking forward to having a chat with you.
Absolutely. When I was reading through Your Next Chapter story, which is on the website at the moment, I had to chuckle. There was so many things that we have in common, from growing up on a farm to having that nasty bit of a critic in our head telling us that we're lazy when all evidence shows us that we're not. So give me a little bit of a background, or give our listeners a bit of a background. What has been your previous chapters before we dive into what's coming up? Give us a little bit of the backstory.
Oh, gosh. How far back do you want to go, Angela? Bit of a drifter, misspent youth. I'm a Gen Xer, so, of course, I had to drink and smoke a lot. And my mum was, in my mid-20s, my mum said to me, look, get your act together, young lady. And so I went to, at the age of 25, 26, I went to the far north of Western Australia, Fitzroy Crossing, and I pumped petrol for 5 months to earn money to go travelling. So I like to think of myself as the cheese sausage queen of the Kimberley, Angela. And then from there, I took off, and I didn't come home for over 10 years. And wow. So I ended up tour leading for many years with a small British travel company. So mostly I worked in the Middle East and Southeast Asia, a lot of places you can't. It's a bit hard to get to now, in fact. And then I came back at age 35, and just my stepfather passed away very suddenly, and I thought, I hung up my travel boots and went and studied to be a naturopath. And I think I started that to save myself more than anything, because I was still a drinker and smoker. And then I've been doing that, for the past 15 years. So I've been I've had my own business. I graduated, and I've been in practice for about 11 years now.
That's interesting, that idea of setting up the business to save yourself. I can relate to the drinking and the smoking. That was a big part of my Gen X lifestyle as well, for sure. But there was probably lots of ways in which you could have saved yourself. Why did naturopathy call you?
I think my mum has always had an interest in complementary medicine. My dad was unwell when I was young, and I grew up on a wheat and sheep farm. So to give you a bit of context, there was a vegetable delivery once a week, and it was iceberg lettuce and continental cucumber. That was about, we ate a lot of mutton. And when he got sick, I was 10, and we all became vegetarian for a while. He was put on quite a strict diet. So I guess the seed was planted very young. And then when I was travelling, I was always interested in India and China, of traditional medicine. So I became interested in Ayurvedic medicine and traditional Chinese medicine, of acupuncture, and just how other cultures practiced health. And So the seeds were there, and I thought I wanted to get healthier myself. I'd got very, very unwell in India, like most people, but I didn't realise how unwell because I never got, the same sort of traveller's diarrhea that many people did. But so that's sort of where it all, I guess, all started.
Yeah, I think with so many women that I've spoken to, and myself included, that curiosity is the first sort of sign of stepping into our path, working in a purposeful way. And so that natural curiosity, you took it to the next level, which makes perfect sense. So when before we actually hit record, we were talking about the difference between the business that you're starting now, which we'll speak about shortly, and back then. And back then it was sort of a just get started. Do you want to talk about how that felt?
Yeah, terrifying. Oh my gosh. When I look back, I think, wow, it was easier to travel through Iran alone than just open a business. But it's great when sometimes when you don't know, you're a bit more cavalier about things, which is quite nice. So I had graduated as a naturopath, and I was repping for a company and working in a health food store. And my massage therapist at the time said to me, "Oh, look, I've got this building, and do you want to sublease a room?" And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I really didn't give it a lot of thought. And we had a kind of opening, and she'd been in business for some time, and I just invited all my mates. And we, bought some champagne. I was like, great, I'm a businesswoman now. And, one of my brother's colleagues said, "Oh, where are your business cards?" And I was like, what? And so it started like that. So it was a lot of stresses, a lot of anxieties, a lot of, I can't do this in the beginning. And for some time, and then I think it was probably the second or third year in business that I had that kind of penny drop that went, oh, you've got to wear two hats, Marnie. You are not just the healthcare provider, but you're also a businesswoman. And so then I started learning and going to, trying to figure out, how to, market myself better and things like that. Upgrading my website and really investing in that side of the business. Yeah.
That's great. It's such a great distinction that you recognise the difference between the two. Often it happens that I hear the story. Look, if someone could take care of the marketing, and I could just do the thing that I do, I'd be happy. There's a lot of people who tend to shy away from the marketing side. To me, it's not about convincing or converting anyone. It's simply about contributing and communicating. And I take a wholehearted approach to marketing in terms of market in the ways that feel good to you. And then you're much more likely to actually do them. That seems to be the philosophy.
Yeah. And there are great books out there, Ange, I love Start With Why, Simon Sinek's book. Yeah. And it is that whole notion, and Seth Godin, they're really great because there's no point being the best at what you do if nobody knows you're there. And I genuinely want to make a difference in a positive way to the health outcomes of people. I'm very frustrated by the way allopathic medicine, this kind of sickness model exists within society. And I can see that there's, and the research tells us that we're going to have a total collapse of the healthcare system if we don't start addressing things. So I really want to be part of that process. So there's no point, and if no one knows I'm there, then I'm doing a disservice to the community, I believe.
That's a philosophy that I absolutely stand by, and it's great to hear your certainty when you talk about that. Some people shy away a little and feel it's almost arrogant to put themselves forward, but you can't be found, you can't make an impact, you can't make a difference if you don't stand up and wave your arms around a bit and say, hey, here I am, I've got some ideas, I've got a solution. So it's brilliant that you've picked up on that. What have you found most useful for you when it came to building this business that you have now? What sort of methodologies or approaches did you find tick the boxes for you?
Oh gosh, It's been a bit of a scattergun approach. I think the thing is I spent so much money on marketing and business courses, and I really hope impress this upon people that it's a consistency. It's nothing else but consistency. I kept thinking I will do this course and it'll happen magically. and it will all rain down upon me. I'll write this blog post and it'll get 1,000 people. I wrote one day. It's very personal, and 1,000 people on that day visited my website. And I was like, "This is it. It's all going to happen for me now." And it's not like that. It's just showing up, Angela, and standing up. I love that. I think it's a Japanese thing. Fall down 8. 7 times, stand up 8.
8, yeah.
It's just consistency, and so there's no magic bullet with this that I've found. If someone else has one, please do tell me. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, please write in. Let us know. But I think what I'm hearing is that the consistency, absolutely, I totally agree with that. The resilience that needs to come with that, because we can hold on to expectations, as you just described. Well, that's it. I've made it. 1,000 people read the post. Bring it on. But then recognizing that, maybe that won't happen with the next post. So I loved how you made reference to Simon Sinek. In particular, I really feel if we are grounded in that sense of purpose, for standing for something bigger than just what we sell, like you've got that real sense of like need, and almost it sounds like a little bit of outrage about, well, why is the health system like this? It needs to be different. So when we're fired up with that sense of purpose, and I don't mean like, here is my one purpose, whoa, this is what it is, because that can tie us up in knots, but a sense of doing something that is purposeful and aligned with what you stand for, then we can be as resilient as all heck, I think. It gets me up in the morning. Is that the same way that you feel, or a similar way?
Yeah, there's a tenacity, with it. And it can be very difficult to articulate, the why, but you know it. Like for me, it's because it's an emotional, I can feel it in my physical body, and I know I'm on purpose when I talk about something, and my eyes will well, or I'll feel it in my heart and go, okay, I know I'm on purpose. And but I also don't want anyone to think that, you have to have the, my purpose in life, I'm searching for that thing. It's, then you end up, I think, chasing your tail a bit, because it's like, I'm waiting for the epiphany, Tiffany, to hit me, and what I'm meant to do. And it's up and down, and particularly at this time of my life, I'm 50 years of age, and I have to create space for myself a lot of the time as well. And I'm fortunate that I've set my world is set up that way.
Yeah.
But,
and that idea of, to me, it's like it's being in the territory of our truth. We don't have to be like on X marks the spot, but as long as we're in that area, because it changes and it evolves. And you're a perfect example, because you've been in the space that, the naturopath space, you've been doing your thing, but then you noticed that there was something coming up that you felt a fair bit of discontent about, like a fair bit of, this needs to be changed, this needs to be addressed. And in the cycle of change, which we go through again and again and again, that's the first sign. Not happy, Jan, with something, either within your own business or something that you see out there that you want to address. And then you've got to create that or define that desire. Well, what am I going to do about it? So talk to us about this new project and what came up with that sort of idea.
Well, I guess for me, Angela, it's twofold. I was teaching and looking after naturopath, students, and I sort of have become a little bit frustrated within my own industry, and I really, I love the industry, so I want to preface it, before anyone sort of shoots me and goes, "You're putting." But I felt we've become quite medicalised within in naturopathy as well, and that I was like, oh my God. People come to me and they just want me to fix their problems, and I really this is not working for me, because I really want to empower it sounds cliche. I really want to give people the tools they need to look after their own health. And they're not doing that. They're coming back to me and they just want a pill to fix it. And I'm no different to a doctor or, allopathic medicine. And if people don't want to change their diet. So I started moving more into nutrition. And then there's been a couple of moments around the age of 48. I had this lovely sense of well-being, that I was like, I don't have to worry anymore. And, life's really good, and it felt quite spiritual without, it was almost like this download where it's like, oh gosh, all that angst of your youth is over and you can, step into, and then something happened. Yeah, bum, bum, bum. I started to get anxiety again. I was like, oh, and I realised I'm going through menopause. Oh, and no one's prepared me for this. Nobody has, no one's told me it's, I remember sitting just crying, inconsolable one day, and the sense of grief I felt was just unbelievable. I've wasted my life. I haven't achieved anything. I don't know anything. I've just been. It was pretty hard. And then I was like, well, then the hot flushes and blah, it goes on. And then I was like, well, who can I serve? And if I'm feeling like this and I feel pretty well prepared and I look after myself, how are other women, travelling? And so out of that, I thought, I've got to look, and when I went searching, it was like all about weight loss. Oh, you're gaining weight in the Middle Ages. And I was like, but it's so much more than this, And so I'm in the midst, I'm in the design phase, as you say, of launching Great Dames. It's not as in the dog Great Dane, but Great Dames embrace the change. So basically helping women through menopause and all that means.
I like that. I love the Great Dames and embrace the change. And I think it was one hot flush at a time was one of the
yes,
the extra tanks. And it's really interesting, that concept of the anxiety hitting again, because that feeling of flow that I hit it as well in the late 40s, because I'm 51. In the late 40s, that feeling of I can trust myself, I approve of myself, I've got a good relationship with myself. So much of that, for me, it's a connection to self-worth. Okay, that I believe self-worth is a reconnection to it, that it's been a bit frayed over the years, but when you reconnect to it, resilience and creativity and courage and all of those good, wonderful, empowering and energetic emotions are there. But then, bang, anxiety can suddenly just take you sideways. There's a colleague, and I think you guys would love to have a conversation, actually. She's over in the UK, Dr. Becky Quick, as in fast, with an E on the end. She's a psychologist who specifically talks about and deals with the anxiety part of perimenopause and menopause. I think you guys would have a great yarn to be honest. But so this happens so often, is that next chapters are built on skinned knees. Like, I've experienced this. It wasn't fun, but I've found a path through. And if I can turn around and shorten and sweeten the journey for others, then that's my thing now. And that certainly sounds as though you got up and went, I'm going to make this happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought I just can't sit by. And as I said, the conversation started, and the research and the reading, and there are some wonderful resources out there. So it's, I really like the Feel Good Guide to Menopause by Dr. Nicola Gates, and the M word is Dr. Ginny Mansberg, and that's, she's a GP. So we're lucky because this conversation is really taking off at the moment, Angela. But it's still, I'm still talking to women that come to see me, and I go, they'll describe as symptoms, and that's perimenopause. They go, what? What? Yeah. Yeah, that, and a case in point, I was with a girlfriend yesterday. She's the same age as me, and she is. I don't think she might be. She's an architect and very, works in a university, and he said, she was talking about one of her colleagues, and she said, and so they went, for the job, when you go up a level, and her partner and I looked at her and went, do you mean a promotion? And because she just could not find the word, and it's that sort of thing where there's just this movable feast, and that's why I feel like I'm often on a roller coaster. Of ups and downs, of like, my memory's got so bad I could plan my own surprise party. So, and the anxiety as well, and those feelings. But this is change, and it's called the change for a reason. And I love your reference to skinned knees, because it's like it's like a phoenix rising from the ashes of something. And this is so many women, go through this process and reinvent themselves. And because it's suddenly of like, oh, what do I want? This is the second half of our lives. And it's like I feel like I'm just waking up.
I hope you're enjoying this conversation, and perhaps it's inspiring you to start your own next chapter. Don't forget to pop over to my website where you can order a copy of my book, Your Next Chapter, Ditch Your Doubt, Own Your Worth, and Build the Business You Really Want. In it, I'll take you through the next chapter change cycle that will help you develop the clarity and confidence to move into this next stage of your business and life. Just go to angelarasmus.com/Your Next Chapter book. I love that expression. It aligns with one that I read a wee while ago that said that before menopause and after menopause, before all of the energy was directed to the womb, and now it's directed to my heart. And it's like there was this big shift, and there's this overwhelming desire to step out more, to make a difference, to have significance, to leave a legacy. And I don't mean that in an egotistical sense. It's in this real sense of wanting to be purposeful, of wanting to help, which ultimately we're all here for. And I actually have a trilogy around it. So if you imagine a next chapter business, it has contribution. We want to give back. It has fulfillment. We want to feel purposeful, and it has financial reward. We can't ignore that piece. I think so many women put so much goodness into the world and through the lens of business, and we deserve to be well compensated for the change and the impact that we create as well.
I love that. Yeah, it's so true. And, particularly for women, particularly with financial reward, because as Great Dane has evolved, I really want to have financial advisors on board, because women over the age of 55 are the largest growing homeless population, Angela, and that really bothers me as a woman. Horrified me
when I read that. I've seen it played out in the papers quite often, and then I've listened to colleagues who, we are so less likely to have superannuation, if marriages break down, and that one really gets me concerned as well. So I love that idea. Tell me more.
Well, I mean, at the moment I'm going to stay in my lane of health, but it is just this thing because it's me. I'm that person who's really vulnerable. I'm a single woman. I don't have children, so I fit into that category, and life's pretty good at the moment, but it's like, how do we shore that up? And I think this is a community. We are a growing community, and we need to support each other. And so I really love the idea of what you're doing, because this is connecting women to other women, and it's only it's only through this that we can really affect a change. This idea of individualism, where we are at the moment. I think society is developed in communities. And I'm not talking just tribes, but, and we're the wise women. So I hope I'm making sense, because I feel like I'm jumping all over the place. But we are the wise women, and we have this tremendous opportunity and ability to really make a positive difference in the world.
Well, I loved your description when I asked the question in the story. and you answered that our wisdom allows us to create businesses with real soul and purpose. And that felt really true. That was one of those truth prickles that I got when I was reading that. And you're absolutely right. Community, collaboration, not competition. Now, and I think from my experience and what I've observed, women do that very well. There's an author whose work I love, which is Barbara Hewson, used to be called Barbara Stanny. She wrote Sacred Success as one of her most wonderful books. And in fact, I just finished listening to it on Audible again. And she talks about how women, the way that we manage power, I'm talking black and whites here. There's always shades of grey, but just for this conversation, the women are very good with the concept of power with, as opposed to power over. And so that to me speaks to your desire and recognition of the importance of community and how we can contribute to one another. And also, I like how you said, I'm going to stay in my own lane for now, but there's that sense of evolution. And I think that's such an important thing for everyone who starts a business, for every woman who's stepping into a next chapter, to recognize we don't have it all together at the start. That's just the first step. And then things... Forever. Actually, if you want to get really specific, yeah. But that possibility of allowing your thoughts to go, okay, here's what I'm focusing on now, but tickling at the edges of your imagination are the next chapters and the next chapters. And, I can feel the expansiveness of what you're wanting to achieve, which is wonderful.
Yeah. And, things that, like, for women, who may be getting back into the workforce as well, or, even if it's just starting a business, what that looks like. And, as I say, everyone can help each other because, we're really underrepresented. That was the other thing when I sort of started researching this. And, again, it's so different to the first iteration of my business. It's like, I've got to go and survey people and interview them and ask them, And we're quite underrepresented, women sort of over the age of 45, like 40, in so many ways. And yet we're the people that spend the most amount on health and looking after ourselves. But we're just not there. I couldn't, when I was meant to go and look for photos for my website, and I'm like, but where am I?
Yeah.
I'm just not, and I worked with one group when I was trying to get my brand developed, and they were, and this is no disrespect, but it was just that notion of they were younger and they didn't quite get me. So they thought, when I said, it's this thing that we were old women, and I was like, but I'm not Blanche Dubois from, who was in her 50s in The Golden Girls. Not Blanche, what's her name? The Golden Girls.
Yeah, and, Blanche, and I can't remember the other one, but she,
they were like 50. We're different. We're more like, we're not quite Jennifer Lopez swinging on a...
She set the bar high, that's for sure.
I know. But even then, it was they couldn't quite get the brand concept. It's kind of interesting because we are sort of invisible in a way. It's not for there's a reason why we feel a bit invisible, because we're sort of underrepresented.
There's an expression that if you can't see it, you can't be it. And that's why part of my work is definitely to showcase more and more and more women who are changing, moving, starting new things, pivoting. Here's that word that's been used a lot lately, but it's a good word to use under these circumstances. Yeah, we are actually trailblazers. I talk about this in the book, how if I think about my mum, I love my mum, but at 50, she certainly wasn't going, okay, what am I going to launch? How am I going to impact this and that? And again, no disrespect towards my mum, but people like you, like myself, like hundreds of women that I come across have got this fire in their belly. A lot of us have this fire in our belly that we want to do things. And so it's important that we get to see each other's examples. I think there is such power and inspiration in hearing stories. They provide like catalyst fuel for us to go, God damn it, I'm going to give this a go. That's the part that I think is important. And
not feeling that age is a barrier. And I think that's the thing of, I'm too old to do that, to go back, even if it's to, you know, not starting a business, but go back to study or learn something new, you know. And I'm very lucky in my business because most of my clients are women, and I watch the stages of life very closely. And I have one beautiful client, she's in her 70s, and she's so inspirational to me, Angela. And she's my grand dame, you know, that's when you get past being great. You know, she's still so engaged studying. And again, my mum, I love her so much. She's such an amazing woman, and she's 75, and we've been having a lot of conversations recently about continuing to have purpose in life. And I said to her, you know, don't just mark time. You know, that's really sad if you're just feel like you're filling in time now, you know, because we don't know how long we're here for. And it's just, to me, I just think, you know, I've already thought about what I'm going to do when I'm 70, you know, is my next, what's going to happen after Great Danes.
Chapters, they keep going.
That's right.
I think it's ultimately it's about choice and choices. Like, we're not saying to anyone listening, you know, thou shalt start a business and change the world, like, you know, make it so. Like, it's a choice. Yeah. But if we don't see the options that are available to us, then our choices are very much restricted. They're very much restricted. And I've certainly, as a part of the research that I was doing for the book, so much data saying that when we are connected to something purposeful, something that inspires us, something we feel strongly about, and it can be, you know, gardens, it can be cheese making, it can be whatever it is for you. But when you are connected to some source of contribution, you age better physically, emotionally, spiritually, in all ways. And that's what I want for women and for men, but we're talking about women right now. That's what I want for us. I want for us to have that sense of contribution and fulfillment, that feeling of being purposeful, so that we do feel motivated and inspired. I want to be alive, and I want other people to be alive as well.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't put it better myself. You know, it's just to have a curiosity about life and its possibilities, because look, you know, I am a walking cliche, so I'm just going to own that right there, Angela. But you know, this is, you know, life isn't really a gift, and I haven't always felt that way. You know, I've suffered with depression, I've suffered with anxiety, and I've worked very, very hard at my mental heads, you know, to look after my mental head space. And it's interesting because, and let me just preface this, I know a young person passed away very recently, and I was thinking about what suicide means and not contemplating it. So I just thought, I love life. And I don't always love it. It's not like that every day, and I can be a glass half full kind of gal. Or glass half empty, I should say. And, you know, but I think, you know, it's a pressure. You only get to do this once.
Yeah, that we know of.
Yeah. Well, not in this way. And you know, I just don't want to look back and go, oh, look, I worried my life away, or I didn't do those things. And you know, there's all those lovely books about nurses who've worked in palliative care and people's biggest regrets.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't have to have high ambitions either. You know, that's what I don't want. You know, it could just be I just like making, I don't know, because then it sounds like I'm diminishing someone's ambitions. But you know, just to live a life of contentment. That's a very lofty aim.
I think contentment is a beautiful word to use, and as we're bringing, you know, this particular conversation, because I have this feeling we may have more, but this conversation to a natural sort of close. There was a good friend of mine in the recovery movement who talks about how there is a Marnie, well, she doesn't say Marnie because she doesn't know you, but if she did, she would. There is a Marnie-shaped hole in the universe, and it is my job to fill that hole, take that space.
Oh, that is beautiful. Oh.
It's like you just need to be you. And I think that is one of the beauties of getting a little older and wiser, is that we recognise that we are enough. If we have that commitment, like you talked about, working very diligently and consciously on your mental health, which to me is just, it's vital. It's so important for us to work consciously, to use tools and practices that keep us buoyant. I talk about in the book about the bounce up factor that we have when you've been doing the work. And the work can come in all sorts of different ways from all sorts of teachers, but it's your ability, even when life, does knock you down one of those 7 times, you can get up for the 8th time because you've got the resilience, because you've got the tools to fall back on. And the self-worth piece to me is the absolute core. And when you are connected to that sense of your own innate worth, then that Marnie-shaped hole that is waiting there in the universe, you just settle into beautifully, and you expand out to the edges of it. That's, I think, what we're talking about, is that I want to expand to my edges, and it sounds like you do too.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I love that. I'm sort of just kind of sitting with my sitting with my hole. Yeah, I think and I think this time of life there's some great articles. There's one in the Guardian recently about it's like when you go through menopause, it's like you come off drugs almost. It's like, why have I been thinking and caring about what the rest of the world?
Yes.
Yeah, and it is a time of reevaluation of what relationships are important to you, but the most important one is with yourself. And, that I say this to everyone that walks through my door, the 2 rules for coming to see me is, number 1, be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
And because then you're just a better human to everybody else.
Yeah, it's the we are with ourselves all the time. Like, we are the one. We have to be have the most unconditional relationship and friendship with ourselves. We need to know that we're a safe harbor. Because when we have that, then we'll take risks. We'll try things because we know we've got our own back. And to
Absolutely.
me, that's just such an essence of moving into a next chapter with self-trust at the core.
And I think, Angela, just on one thing there is, make peace with the inner critic, whatever story she's telling you, just, and that was a huge moment for me years ago. I had I had a very nasty voice that would tell me I was a loser when things didn't go right. And I made peace with her. She doesn't really visit much anymore. I just said to her, "Oh, look, that's not helpful, darling, sweetie." So, and once I was able to laugh at that, and just go, hold on, and the other thing is, if you've got an inner critic that's pretty strong, if you've got that nasty voice, stick a photo up of yourself when you're about 3 or 2 years of age. You can't not love that.
Yeah, that beautiful little soul, absolutely. The concept of making peace with your inner critic is very much an approach I have as well. I've given her a name, I've got a photo of her, and I understand what she says, and we definitely have a much more amenable working relationship now than what we used to say the least. It's such an important step to take to work on that making peace, which is a part of that mental health work. Oh my goodness. Well, Marnie, it's been a delight. I cannot wait until your new business is released to the world, and we will put links straight to that new website, greatdames.com.au.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
And where else can our lovely listeners find you if they are so inspired to come and check you out?
Yes, just on marniedowner.com.au. So if you just Google my name, as in Marnie, and Downer as in Debbie Downer, she's my alter ego, because I'm always giving people bad news about, don't do that. marniedowner.com.au. I have a website there, so you can check me out.
That is perfect. And any last thoughts you would like to leave us with before we go off into the wilderness?
I feel on the spot. Be afraid and do it anyway.
Yep, that was the classic name of a book back in the 70s, wasn't it? And
Yes.
it still holds true
Yeah.
now. It is still
Yes.
so true.
Yeah.
Or as you've said here, jump. The only failure in life is not giving things a red hot go.
Yes, indeed.
That is perfect. Thank you so much for your time, darling. I've really enjoyed the conversation with you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome. And to you, my lovely listener, I hope that you are taking the inspiration from this conversation, hearing the adventures that Marnie's been through, but going all through the story that we could hear was that commitment to herself, that commitment to making peace with her inner critic, to stepping into these new chapters that are calling her, to working on that mental health, that friendship with yourself, all of those pieces that are so incredibly important so that you can give to others. It's the perfect example, which you would have heard so many times, of putting on your own oxygen mask and then you're able to distribute masks out to so many other people. The next chapter that's waiting for you, just like it is embracing Marnie at the moment, it can be a glorious thing. If you do take that chance, jump. The only failure is not giving it a go. So follow that curiosity, follow those breadcrumbs, because who knows what might unfold in your next chapter. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to bringing another wonderful guest to you on the next episode. Until then, take care. Thanks so much for listening to the Your Next Chapter podcast. I really do appreciate your time. And if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn. And of course, my website, angelarasmus.com. If you enjoy the show, I'd love you to share it with another woman who's in the midst of business and life beyond 40. And if you love it, a review on iTunes or whatever app you listen in on would be fabulous. Reviews somehow impact that deeply mysterious algorithm and make it easier for the show to be found, which is always a good thing. So thanks again, and until next time, take care.